They have got the highest capital adequacy ratio. So अगर आप ये पूरा चार्ट देखें, so कोटक की एक हिस्ट्री है, to grow, by way of inorganic route and to look at, specific spots जहां उनको the bank is evaluating inorganic opportunities across. Now let's look at possible capital allocation area. Hello and welcome to Stocks, Stories and Skills. Today we will discuss Kotak Mahindra Bank. Is Kotak Bank on the hunt? Kotak Mahindra Bank today is sitting on the highest capital in the books. Why such a high level of capital? Is it because of the likely unfavorable economic environment, or are they scouting for a merger and acquisition? ये सब हम डिस्कस करेंगे इस वीडियो पे. So I have this chart of capital adequacy of different banks. Let's start with the Punjab National Bank. Punjab National Bank has a capital adequacy ratio of around 14%. Canara Bank, another public sector bank, has 13.9%, almost close to 14%. Then comes the Bank of Baroda, another PSB bank, 14%. Then we have State Bank of India, India's largest bank with almost 25% share in loans, advances and deposit. They have got 14% capital. IndusInd Bank is sitting on 17% capital. We have ICICI Bank, the recent turnaround story in the last 5-6 years. They have a capital adequacy ratio of 16.5%. Then comes the Axis Bank, country's third largest bank. It has got the third largest private sector bank. It has got 17.7%. Then comes the SDFC Bank, 20%. SDFC Bank is also sitting on a very high capital. And then we have Kotak Mahindra Bank, 23.6%. So if you see, they have got the highest capital adequacy ratio in the market. And like the headline suggests, is it because of some sort of a protection from economic shocks and loan defaults, or like I said earlier, are they targeting some M&A? So let's discuss why excess capital is not always good for the bank. Now, number one reason is suboptimal returns. If you're holding too much capital, it reduces your return on equity, because as a denominator, if the denominator gets enlarged, your returns goes down. So in a way, the bank is not leveraging its balance sheet efficiently to generate profit. Now, second is the opportunity cost. Capital parked without being deployed in productive lending or investments represent a missed opportunity for earning growth. And number third, it signals risk aversion or some lack of strategy. Excess capital might indicate that the bank is not confident in expanding or lacking attractive lending opportunity, or waiting, like I said earlier, for some sort of a M&A. And number four is the shareholders' concern. Investor may view high capital buffers as inefficient capital allocation, potentially calling for buybacks, dividend or strategic investment. And there is a regulatory arbitrage risk. Banks with optimal level of capital, will tomorrow, come out with better, numbers. So जैसे पहले हमने बात किया था, M&A. So there is one, bank which is up for sale, is the IDBI Bank disinvestment, where the government and the LIC, they are selling a majority stake in the bank. Now, with regard to that, when questions were asked to Mr. Ashok Vaswani, who is the MD CEO, Kotak Bank, and that that was asked in October 2024, to the last year, and he said, "I don't think it's hot in cooking right now. So I think when the time comes and there is talk about doing something, we will definitely look at it." So that's a very important point, that the bank will definitely look at it. So let's go back and see what all has happened in the IDBI disinvestment case. Now in January 2023, the government put a 60% stake in IDBI Bank, up for sale. Now, the government and LIC are the two major shareholders, together holding 94% stake. So, apart from Kotak, there is a Fairfax, Financial. This is a Prem Vatsa's, holding company. Then there is a Emirates NBT, another player in the fray, and then there is a Oaktree Capital, and these all three players have shown interest in the bank, and government has already appointed an asset valuer and drafted a share purchase agreement for potential buyer. Now, with this four bidder in the fray, this acquisition is likely to witness a bidding war, and this entire disinvestment is expected to complete this year. So we will see a lot of action in 2025, and with Kotak sitting on the highest capital, it looks they are going to be very aggressive on this bid. So let's spend some time on what will be the strategic gains for Kotak Bank if they acquire IDBI Bank. तो IDBI Bank अगर वो acquire करते हैं तो किस तरह के gains banks में आएंगे. Let's look at those. एक बहुत बड़ा point है the expanded branch network. So अगर Kotak Bank IDBI Bank को acquire करता है, so they will get a very good physical presence, especially in the semi-urban and urban areas. तो ब्रांच नेटवर्क एक बहुत बड़ा ग्लू है फॉर कोटक बैंक टू बी इंटरेस्टेड इन द IDBI बैंक. दूसरा है द लोन बुक एंड द कासा रेशियो. नाउ इफ दे एक्वायर IDBI बैंक्स लोन बुक, तो 5 लाख करोड़ तो सीधे लोन बुक में आ जाएगा कोटक बैंक के. एंड सेकेंड, द स्मॉल दिस कासा करंट एंड सेमी अकाउंट्स, सो बैंक विल ऑल्सो गेन big time on the CASA side. And third have the diversified customer base. Now especially retail and SME clients. Now Kotak has a big focus on the SME side, and अगर IDBI acquire करते हैं तो Kotak को एक बहुत अच्छा SME portfolio मिलेगा इसके साथ. Now this is a very interesting chart on major acquisition by Kotak Bank in the last 10 years, and if you see Kotak is not new in the M&A game. 2014, if you go back, and that time they made a very big acquisition of ING Vaishya Bank, and that gave a big inroads to this private sector bank in the south of India, and also SME clients and all that. ये एक बहुत बड़ा मर्जर था ING वैश्य बैंक, जिससे उनके कुछ फाइनेंशियल कुछ सालों के लिए खराब हो गए थे, बट इन टर्म्स ऑफ स्ट्रेटेजिक फिट दैट वाज अ बिग मर्जर. नाउ उसके 2 साल बाद they acquired 49% stake in the microfinance. Now microfinance was fast emerging as a big focus area for all banks, but उनको ये नहीं पता था कि अब microfinance कैसे करना है. So they got hold of this BSS microfinance, which gave them a lot of expertise, clients, employees, a lot of talent. So 2016 हमने ये merger देखा. Now 2021 में they acquired KFin Technologies, almost 9.9-10% stake in this financial technology solution provider. Now fintech is another area where all banks, they need expertise which they don't have, and that shows that fintech उससे पहले microfinance, and उससे पहले ING Vaishya more for a geographical thing. Now coming to 2023, more recently, now they got hold of Sonata Finance acquisition. Again, the idea was to strengthen microfinance. So microfinance was another big area where they have already made 2 acquisitions. And 2025, this was very surprising, Standard Chartered loan portfolio. They acquired Standard Chartered personal loan portfolio to expand retail banking. Now if you remember, जब Citibank का retail banking आया था, that was up for sale, Kotak was one of the aggressive bidder there, but because of the pricing वो merger हुआ नहीं, but they had interest in Citibank's retail customer. But after that, जब Standard Chartered का portfolio आया, they acquired that one. So अगर आप ये पूरा चार्ट देखें, so कोटक की एक हिस्ट्री है, to grow, by way of inorganic route and to look at, specific spots जहाँ उनको लगता है कि, they need some expertise or they need some geography or they need some product. So ये सारा है acquisition का chart. Let's move to the next chart. Now let's see the management commentary on the M&A and related areas. Now management reiterated that M&A remains an active strategy lever. So ये बहुत साफ शब्दों में management ने बोल दिया है. The bank is evaluating inorganic opportunities across. Now they're talking about wealth management, NBFCs, fintech, with clear criteria. So clear criteria क्या है? Strategic fit होना चाहिए with the core business, like हमने पहले देखा MFI and other thing. Sustainable synergies and ROC accretion accretive होना चाहिए. Clean governance and integration risk low होना चाहिए. And IDBI, if you see, is a very modern bank, because IDBI earlier was a DFI. So जितनी भी branches बाद में open हुई हैं, they are all bank और retail branches. So पूरा retail bank खड़ा किया है DFI ने. And no urgency to deploy capital. ये भी हमने एक point mention किया है, because opportunities must be value accretive, not just capital consuming. That also a very clear template of the bank. So just because we have access capital doesn't mean we'll spend it. Any acquisition must make sense strategically and financially. So IDBI बैंक में तो already उन्होंने bid किया ही है, ऐसा नहीं है कि नहीं किया है. तो अगर bid किया है तो बहुत सोच समझ के किया हो. Now let's look at possible capital allocation area. Suppose अगर Kotak Bank IDBI बैंक तो नहीं acquire करता है, and now with this 23% capital adequacy, capital कहाँ जा सकती है? Now first is the fintech platform investment. Support tech innovation and ecosystem expansion for strategic gain. Now fintech is a very big area for all banks. So यहाँ पर whether is to get talent or to have partnership or to make some acquisition there. So fintech जहाँ काफी smaller fintechs हैं, तो हो सकता है कि अगर कोई अच्छी opportunity दिखे, so they will buy fintech company. And now especially with AI, the focus is more on AI. So अगर कुछ AI अच्छे platform मिलते हैं बैंक को, I'm sure they will invest in those platforms. And other thing, even to acquire AI talent, they need money. So वहाँ भी ये बहुत help करेगा. Now second is the alternative asset business. Now this is very important. Invest in AIF, AMC, mutual fund and structured product for high internal rate of return. So alternative asset business एक बहुत बड़ा focus area है बैंक का. So यहाँ पैसा जा सकता है. Organic growth, fund balance sheet expansion without any capital, aiming for ROA and ROE improvement. So organic growth तो उनका चल ही रहा है. Maybe they can step on the pedal and grow at a higher rate. Inorganic M&A हमने बात कर लिया, acquire businesses for strategic synergy and long term. This हमने पहले discuss कर लिया. So AIF, fintech and to push the organic growth story. ये तीन एरिया हो सकते हैं जहाँ पर कैपिटल कल डिप्लॉय कर सकते हैं अगर IDBI और कोई बहुत बड़ा एक्विजिशन नहीं करता है बैंक. Now, what are alternative assets? Let's discuss that. Now, alternative asset are investment outside traditional asset classes like stocks, bonds or deposits. तो कौन सी asset classes है? Number one is the private equity business. Now, private equity business is already growing at a very fast pace in India, and Kotak is already into private equity, and you need capital to grow that business. Second is the real estate piece. Third is the infrastructure fund, and a lot of things are happening in infrastructure in India, so you can invest in infrastructure funds. Fourth is the venture capital. When you are seeing these startups, पूरा जो startup का world है बढ़ रहा है, and if you can put some smaller capital, take higher risk. So entire venture capital space, where they can put capital for higher return. Then there are structured product and debt fund, and finally is the hedge fund strategies. So these are the 5 or 6 alternative assets where they can put capital or put more capital there and grow these businesses for higher return. Now, if you look at the alternative piece, Kotak Mahindra Bank has its own alternative investment fund, AIF, and portfolio management services. So one is the Kotak Alternative Asset Manager, and second is the Kotak Investment Advisors. These manage institutional and HNI capital in alternative strategies. Now, why is this important for Kotak? Now, number one is the capital utilization, like we discussed earlier. Instead of sitting idle or earning low returns in government bonds, Kotak can deploy this surplus fund in these high return businesses. And there is also a high IRR. Now, these internal asset platforms, and they generally generate post IRR of 15 to 18% post tax, which is excellent compared to traditional banking margins. And third is the lumpy but strategic. Returns may not be steady every quarter. They depend on exits, revaluation, and the fund closure. But over time, these AIFs, they deliver strong absolute return, and help boost ROE. Now, let's look at the second point: is the fintech platform. Kotak is open to deploying capital into digital platforms and financial infrastructure that can strengthen its digital stack. So that is one. Second, to improve customer engagement and retention. That is another big area. Third is to expand its reach in underserved and high potential segment. And fourth, such investments are seen as long-term moats that align with its customer, especially customer-centric transformation. So let's put the entire Kotak's capital allocation framework. So one, we talked about the alternative businesses. So उसके अंदर AIF आ गया, AMC आ गया, structured product आ गया. Inorganic growth, loans, organic growth, loans and deposit आ गया. So that will also help in ROA and ROE improvement. Inorganic के अंदर हमने discuss किया strategic synergy, financial synergy, and fintech and platform के अंदर tech innovation and ecosystem expansion. So this is the total allocation framework. So as you can see, Kotak has multiple options to deploy its capital. But the question is how fast they can deploy this kind of capital into business to generate higher returns. If the IDBI merger happens, M&A happens this year, that will be fantastic for the shareholders and the investors. But if it doesn't happen, then we have to see how fast they can deploy that kind of capital into fintech, AIF, and the other businesses. So thank you very much for watching.
If you enjoyed this video or found it helpful, please give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon so you don't miss the next one.